Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing The Green Knight. Is it a horror movie? No idea, but it's the most A24 movie maybe we've ever done on this show. I'll be your host for this evening, coming to you from, let's say, central Massachusetts, John. I never really say where I'm coming from. Next up, from Manhattan, New York City. He's officially better than all of us again. Please welcome John to the show.
It's been a long time coming, Eric.
Yeah?
I mean, it was a long time coming before, then it went away, and now it's back. I don't know. Yeah, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel abandoned personally, but it's fine.
I missed the, like...
To be clear, I was like, like 2 hours closer? I mean, I guess 4 hours. We weren't
John,
that far away.
it's a region. Same region, buddy.
He's mine again.
We were region friends.
The DMV, DC, Maryland,
That's
Virginia.
true.
We had a front.
John, I miss the atrium behind you, but I guess we'll just have to...
The solarium.
Yeah, exactly. Next up on the show, you hear her now from Richmond, Virginia. Please welcome Caitlin.
Hi.
And last up tonight from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello, everybody.
John, you can thank Elizabeth that we're even having this show right now, because at about 1 o'clock, we were discussing the movie, and I was like, yeah, I figured I'd watch it tonight, and then I'll finish it tomorrow before the show. And she's like, today is Wednesday. And I was like, it sure is.
Classic
And that was
Labor Day mistake, Eric.
Dude, I'm out of it. Yeah, so she's the reason why we're having
You
the
weren't
show
working
tonight.
on Monday, I guess. You were
No, I was not. That's
celebrating the laborers.
no,
Yeah.
I was not celebrating, but no. Yeah, we're here to talk about The Green Knight. Get excited.
Gawain.
You've been on this one.
Garwin?
You've been on this
Oh.
one for a while, John. Are you happy finally? Will you just shut up about
Yeah.
this now?
Well, it wasn't just me. I feel like a lot of people.
Eh.
Like it was like society was on this movie for a while.
It was mostly you, but I understand.
Well, but this was a 2020 release. Like this was supposed to have come out last year, got kicked, got theatrical only. It is now streamable. You can rent it on.
Yeah.
I think it's only rental streaming, but
Right.
yes,
So there it is.
I am happy. Yeah, Eric, if you want to know, yes. I am
That's
happy.
all I wanted to hear. Just wanted an honest answer there. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about The Green Knight.
This is it, Senator. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
John, I read one article about this movie. So ask me
Nice.
anything, and I know.
Yeah.
Actually, it was mostly somewhat about the movie. It was a lot about the original poem or story or whatever.
So how would you pronounce the main character's name?
I probably wouldn't. Yeah.
If
You-
the teacher like
Safe.
popcorn read it over to you, you would
You
just skip
you
over
may
it.
choose to do that, John, but I will not. It was written in the 1300s. Yeah.
It's old.
Written in the
That
13
old.
written in the 1300s, but set closer to like 600.
Oh, I was gonna guess like
AD.
8 or 9.
So you even at the
Idiot.
even at the time. So
Oh!
this is an interesting point about it, though. Even at the time, you had somebody writing about an era that was already 600 years past. So whatever, like, cultural information you're trying to glean from it is it's a game of telephone at best, John.
I liked seeing you do that math in your head while you're going.
It's because time
Oh,
is a
they-
flat circle, man.
They did it. They did it for me, John. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, don't worry about it.
He read the article.
It's true. There was like a math equation in the article.
So there you go. I'm smart. Hey, John,
Yeah.
please bring us the word of the day. What you got?
Eric, today's word, talisman.
Ooh,
Talisman.
you sure? You
Talisman.
sure you've never done that one?
I checked it.
Okay.
Did not come up, so I'm rolling with it. An object, typically an inscribed ring or stone that is thought to have magic powers and to bring good luck. Can also be a person regarded as representing and inspiring a particular group. Talisman. So interesting. Comes to us. So it says mid 17th century, which is like pretty late. You know, just this is like a word you would have thought would have been around. Based on the Arabic tilsam, apparently from an alteration of late Greek telisma, completion or religious rite.
There is completion in this movie.
Oh, that was good.
Oh God.
Can't
Yeah.
set me up like that, Schnorr. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Love it.
Green Knight.
What does that have to do with the Green
I
Knight?
feel like you
What
should
it-
be described. Oh,
Wait,
okay. What does this
because
have to do
we
with the
didn't
movie?
have to remind Elizabeth through this last week. What does what does talisman have to do with the Green Knight?
So I like to let the relationship organically evolve out of the conversation, but
Right.
I'll put a bow on it for you. Garwin. I don't know. I think that's how they pronounce it in their time. So he receives I guess you would call it a belt at one point in the film from his mother before he goes on his quest. And she basically says, if you wear this, no harm shall come to you. It was like the definition of a talisman, I would say.
It's
There you
called
go.
fashion, John. It's
Mm.
referred to as a
it-
sash.
It
We're-
looked great.
We're
too,
gonna get
so
into later
added bonus.
what more happens with that, but we'll talk about that later. Caitlin, what'd you think?
I liked this one. I unfortunately did not catch this in theaters. I watched it rented on demand, but I really liked it. I think it was cast really well. Dev Patel, I mean, he looks great. They did a great job styling him. But I mean
Why
that
do
in a
you
way,
gotta
like,
go to looks right away? God.
well,
I tell
because
ya,
John,
So crass.
he looks very like boyish and reckless, just like his character is in the beginning, and then
looks
they
great.
show his journey. But no, I really liked it. I liked the styling a lot. I feel like I always get caught up in the background. I was thinking about the castle and still am thinking about the castle long after. That was a really, really cool set piece. There are some things with the fashion and symbolism, as Eric alluded to, but a little bit expanded upon that as well, that I hope that we can get to.
We're not gonna
yeah.
have time.
No?
Sorry.
Okay.
Casey.
That's cool. But yeah.
We're on a very strict timeline on this podcast.
I appreciated the fox. I've been using the Chaos Reigns fox gift from Antichrist a lot lately. So I
Dude,
was like,
yeah, if you're Jones and for more talking fox, like this will do it for you.
Yeah.
There's just no restraint. Casey, what'd you think, buddy?
I love this movie. It was pretty mind blowing from beginning to end, and really, everything, the cinematography and everything is really the standout here. It was a beautiful movie, and I wish I would have seen it in the theaters. I may still go try and see it before it leaves theaters. I rented this one too. Still a good movie. I had no idea what to expect going into it. I wouldn't say it has a whole lot of horror elements to it, but it does have a lot of dark fantasy elements to it, which I think is cool. Wasn't real familiar with the original poem. I've heard of it. I knew its background a little bit, but I don't know any of the details or anything like that. So going through this, it was really kind of epic. Felt epic to watch it all unfold and see what everything he was getting to and how he got there. The design of the Green Knight itself was amazing. Dev Patel, I thought was great. I thought Alicia Vikander was fantastic in this movie too. There really wasn't a bad role in this for me. I just kind of loved it from top to bottom.
Schnars.
Yeah, I'm with Casey. I love this. I mean, so I should say I had one of the shittiest possible viewing experiences.
Same.
Similarly, I ended the movie and was sort of angry that I did not have a chance to see this in the theater. I just being realistic with myself, I'm not getting to the theater to see this at this point. I have a hard enough time seeing like new movies, let alone movies I've already seen, and trying to get out to the theater for them.
Was it your cross-country move, 3 kids, and a full-time job? Excuses.
Excuses.
Guys, I'm like swimming in fucking boxes. I have my camera strategically placed so you cannot see how fucked this apartment is. In any event, the movie's amazing. I mean, it is just and then I don't want to like go overboard, but like it's gorgeous. It looks great. It is dreamlike, contemplative. It's but it, for a movie that moves as slow as it does, because it moves pretty friggin' slow at some times, I never felt like I didn't know where it was going, or that I wasn't sort of in the control of the director. Like so we should have said that David Lowery, I think, is the director's name. I don't have it sitting in front of me. Yes, David Lowery. And I hadn't seen any of his stuff. I did. Some of you all may have seen Ghost Story, because I think you all did it on an episode of the podcast that I wasn't on.
No, I wanted to.
No,
we never got around to it. Yeah,
I'm gonna go watch this movie like this weekend now, because like I just felt like he had such a confident hand in guiding this film. I mean, the cinema. I would love to know who the cinematographer was. I didn't have a chance to look it up, but like, it just looks amazing. The art direction is amazing. The costumes, and then the performances. I think there's not enough that can be said about taking a poem, as Eric mentioned, from the 14th century, transferring it to, a modern film, not a modern setting, because it's set sort of in the time that the story actually happens. But it doesn't, I don't know, like when you see Shakespeare adaptations, sometimes they feel stuffy, or they feel, I don't know, like overly literary. And this again, I guess you could say it feels literary at times, but it's not like there's long stretches of narration or even like dialogue, honestly. Like the script was just very well put together as well. So yeah, I mean, top to bottom, I was like pretty blown away. And for one of the shittiest viewing experiences, I had to chop it up into like 3 sittings on my computer screen, just a disaster area. And I was very sad about it, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm with you guys, man. This movie is long, but what I'll say about it is that it's just like an incredibly visually stunning movie. There's not much of a narrative. I mean, there is a narrative, but there's large portions of the movie where, as a viewer, I was kind of like, what? Like this, you get to these moments like with the giants, or where characters just look like other characters, or these really cryptic things are said. It's a movie that I feel like might lose some people along the way, and that's definitely just it's A24. I mean, it's very A24-y kind of movie. But you know what it did? It actually kind of scratched like a Game of Thrones-y kind of itch for me, and not just because it's medieval, but like it's this low kind of fantasy where we're just really focused on the journey. I think
grunge fantasy, grime fantasy.
Like I especially since reading Game of Thrones, like I kind of need that in my fantasy. Like I need to see the ways in which this world makes things like travel difficult. It changes.
You want to be in the brothel, like Game
like
of Thrones brothel.
Living in a world like this is a completely different sense of like time and distance and stuff, and that is partially what makes everything in the world feel so huge. Because like just traveling to another city or something is an accomplishment, right? And like this whole movie just kind of becomes a journey, and I really enjoyed despite it being, it's 2 hours. It's a lot for me. But I enjoyed how much they drew that out to the point where, like, when he gets to the temple, that whole sequence is just really amazing. Like, not just him waiting for the night and what happens, but then it goes into this version of the future, and like just that whole third act was like really impactful for me. And the talking fox. Yeah. It should be said, maybe you guys said this, but it's not really a horror movie so much. I'd call it like dark fantasy. There is a dude who loses his head. There's some blood and gore and some other stuff.
There are definite horror elements.
Yeah.
The other
There's
thing I would
specters.
say, yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
that's true.
certain
That's
shots,
true.
there's ways that tension works within a scene sometimes that very much relies on sort of like horror mechanics. The other, like, they marketed this as a horror movie.
They
like, if you go back and
absolutely-
watch that trailer, they're playing in that direction. I think because they were like, what the fuck do we do with this movie?
Well,
you know?
I mentioned
like,
this pre-show to Caitlin because Caitlin was saying like the online scores were kind of bad, or like the critic scores or something. Was it Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes, Caitlin, or?
it's
No,
like
I was gonna-
88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
But like,
I thought.
my point
Well,
is,
Eric and I were talking about it pre-show, and I googled it to bring up the IMDb and the Wikipedia to have names and stuff ready. And the Google reviews are like, the average is like a 2 something, but there are so many 1s out of 5. And
Yeah.
Eric was talking about the way it was marketed.
well, it's
just
like
sort of to
that's
the
the
masses.
A24 thing. Like they somehow get away with marketing these movies to the masses, and those trailers always fudge how traditional of a movie it is. Like they're never traditional movies, and the trailer always finds a way to give you just enough to be like, I feel like if you didn't know what A24 meant. Same thing with The Witch. Like I left The Witch in a theater full of people who were pissed because it was October and they were waiting for a horror movie, and they got this like art house thing. You know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me, I guess, is my only point.
But this does have more fantasy notes than horror notes. I mean, there are.
Yeah.
I mean, like we have a ghost that he interacts with essentially, and there are some horrific or scary moments. But yeah, it's. I was sort of wondering what the consensus would be like in terms of our end of year lists, like where this would have a place or not have a place.
I'm happy to keep it in the conversation
Oh,
because,
oh.
like, I just think, like, even I understand it's fantasy, but it's dark fantasy, right? Like, this is you talk about the plot, even, or sort of what happens. It's like he's facing mortality. It's very much about. I mean, there's sort of thematic elements about honor and sort of trying to establish his place in this sort of hierarchical world. But it's also just like a story about mortality. And,
So
like,
an
facing his own death.
interesting twist from the original story that I was reading is basically in the original story, through the whole thing, he is like a well-regarded honorable knight. And so that was a specific screenwriting choice to sort of bring it, the way they described it in this article was like, bring it more in line with modern screenwriting in the sense of giving the character a journey. Like the character has a trait that they have to overcome in the movie.
Gawain is originally like one of the Knights of the Round Table. Here he is the nephew, effectively, of the king. The
Right.
king's sister is
Now,
his
in the
mother.
original story, it is King Arthur.
Yeah.
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 No, and it's King Arthur
That's
here
what it
too.
seemed
I mean,
like.
at least according to IMDb,
Yeah.
like they call
Well,
it.
and
It's not.
They
It's
just
not.
called him king and queen.
It's
no,
not,
but like
it's not
it says
said.
King
But the
Arthur,
way he's having a moment with himself over the sword, you kind of figure.
yeah.
Well, and I think that's, John, you were talking about sort of mortality being a big theme. And for me, one of the big themes was like him trying to have this sort of like chivalrous, knightly persona. And I mean, we see him wake up in a brothel. He really recklessly sets this challenge. He doesn't prepare for
He
it.
lost his boots.
He naively gets robbed like immediately. And there's sort of a
Yeah.
test of his sort of ability to decline momentary pleasure to like maintain knightly pursuits, and he fails kind of that test. Like for me, that was one of my major things, was sort of seeing him try to get to this place that maybe he saw for himself and others saw for himself, maybe his mom. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part of
One of-
watching him fail.
One of my
he
favorite.
has unearned status,
right.
and his journey is really about trying to capture that he sees it as an opportunity to capture his status for
Yeah.
himself.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite things about this movie is like I love this particular, like, when you go this far back in history, I just love this idea that, like, everybody's fucking crazy. Like, everyone's insane. Everyone's dead by the time they're 40. They're drunk all the time. Like, what I mean is, they're sitting at this Christmas feast or whatever, and this tree demon strides in on a horse and lays down the challenge. They're doing something. He just walks in, and the king goes, yeah, who's going to take him up on it? Like, that in itself is batshit crazy, and I love it. Like, that's just such a. I just love the way that everybody was like,
Well, it's
okay, this
But
is what we're
that's-
doing,
that
because
ties
it's the
into the
olden
chivalry.
times, and when somebody comes in and challenges you, you just take it, and, like, you know.
Yeah, because if you turn him down, you're being dishonorable, right?
Right, like, that's what I mean. Like, it's all about this code that is so foreign to modern audiences, and I
Yeah.
like they so commit to it here, and it becomes really the thread of what the entire plot is about.
well, and to me, that's like, I guess the way I was contextualizing that or thinking about that earlier is like, it shows how clear a vision the director has, right? Because yeah, I mean, that's just how the world works, and he has such an assured sense of how that world works, and it's so consistent throughout. I mean,
Yeah.
you were sort of hitting on this, but you know, Caitlin, you brought up some of the other folks he runs into. So he goes off on this quest. So he has to what I loved is like there's this moment when he chops off the Green Knight's head in the very beginning, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, now I'm gonna revisit upon you in a year the same
Well, he already
thing.
knew that, but I'm
He-
like, I guess you're just thinking, okay, this will kill
Well,
you, and you're stupid.
Well, exactly. He
Yeah.
thought he was killing him, and so then the guy then there's this moment where, and this to me is it's not. I understand it's not like classic horror per se, but like there's a pretty horrifying moment when he picks up his head, and he's like, all right, cool, see ya, and then there's like the evil laugh.
I mean, just visually, the design of the Green Knight, like that whole opening scene, the way he strides in, it's really dark. All the torches get like magically
his huge
snuffed out,
axe.
and
Oh, the sound design around the Green Knight too.
yes,
Yeah.
Before.
It's
it
really good.
sounds like a
Well, that-
tree
it sounds
creaking and
throughout.
leaves rustling. Yes, the sound design is amazing.
The
Yeah,
but like
I related to
every-
it. That's what I feel like when I move.
but every interaction that he has, they're all that like sort of level of crazy, right? Like, so he meets the I don't even know what you would call him, like that kid who's
The band of thieves.
yeah, I mean, this kid's like picking over
Kid
bodies
is
in a
creepy and gross.
battlefield.
Yeah.
At no point does the knight go, huh, I wonder what's going on with this battle. Like, it's just like kind of like, yeah, there's a battle, and there's a bunch of dead corpses. He does ask, he's like, so are they just not gonna bury these people? And the kid's like, nah, no one left to bury, or no one left to do the burying. I can't remember. But and all of that is just, it's not that it's unremarked upon, but to your point earlier, Eric, like it's just like how life is, and it gives you such a consistent and like pretty grim portrait of this world.
Well, yeah, I also thought too in that scene when he came across the battlefield, he's also like the time frame of the movie. He's only about 2 days out from his kingdom. You'd think there would be some knowledge of the battle and a little bit of concern for his kingdom.
I love-
So
Go ahead, sorry.
well, when Eric was talking earlier about sort of the realities of this situation and the sort of how terribly treacherous that would have been, that journey would have been. I love in the scene where he's trying to get out of the ties that he's in, and he goes to the axe, like, inches over like a little inchworm to the axe, and like he cuts his hand like a dummy. And I'm like, yeah, I appreciate seeing this because it does make it a little bit more visceral, not in necessarily like a body horror type of way, but in a way that's like, it pulls me in without being over the top and without being unrealistic. Like, it's not like a Marvel movie where he's just gonna, like, you hear the slice, sound effect and he's free.
Yeah.
I like that gritty part of it.
Oh yeah.
Grunge
That was-
fantasy.
Oh, when
Yeah.
his hand started bleeding, I was just like, oh.
I really liked how the
Yeah.
knight casually wakes up and goes, "Is it Christmas?"
Oh,
I don't know why.
Extreme Eric vibes.
Dude, everything about the night I was way into. Like, he's so serious yet kind of nonchalant about everything. It's perfect.
Well, there's an element of I mean, comedy, I guess, is the only way to. There's like a dark humor that does permeate this, and some of it is Dev Patel, right? The Gawain character. He's sort of hapless. I mean, not just sort of. He's actually like pretty hapless. I mean, Caitlin, you hit on it a couple of times. Like, every time he's challenged, he like doesn't exactly rise to it.
He's reckless. He's young.
Sure, but I mean that kid, like just the mannerisms that the like, and that actor's name I should know. We've seen him a couple. He shows up in these types of roles where he's like super twitchy, like weird kind of kid. But I don't know. There it has like a dark humor, or there's undertones, and I think even the Green Knight, part of that it's there, right? Like it's some of it's like winking, like he's so nonchalant that it's like, what the fuck? What are you supposed to do with this guy?
I can see that. And there's moments too, like with the way he interacts with the fox and whatnot, that kind of highlights that too.
I
The
was gonna say
fox.
there's a talking fucking animal.
The
in this
fox
movie.
is
Yeah.
amazing.
This
I
way
love
you're
That's
surely
serious.
doomed.
I love that whole scene with like the lady specter before she becomes the fox, where he's kind of just like, "Are you a spirit?" And she's like, "Does it matter?" And he's like, "Oh shit, dude, I don't know." But just that the way that whole scene was lit, and it was just really cool. It's a
The
really
lighting in general is super cool.
It's
That scene is like,
Yeah.
that segment is super blue. The segment with the fox at the river is super yellow. There are scenes that are super like rich jewel tones at the castle. It's really well lit and like just beautiful. To
it's an
look at.
amazing looking movie. And John, can we talk about the amount of fog in this movie?
Mm. How, like, there was the scene on it was the battlefield scene where there's all the corpses. It's fog, but the wind is like blowing the fog like
Yeah, it's awesome.
That to me, I was like, that's some
Dude,
cool
I'm
fog
like
right there.
unironically for a long time have felt like horror movies in general need way more fog. Because if you go back and watch an 80s movie, you're in the woods, it's like you can barely see. It's like
Eric, they didn't have
Oh,
budget
yeah.
for CGI back then, so they used the fog, so they didn't have to show.
I'm just saying, like
anything.
but it adds so much atmosphere because the thing is
Oh.
like that doesn't it gives a scene an otherworldly feel because there's like an unnatural appearance to it, and that's it used to such great use here where like we've got these landscapes that are just earth landscapes. There's nothing really fantastical about them, but partially in the framing, the color of the shots, but also like this use of fog makes everything feel bigger and more epic than it actually is.
Well, and it's really disorienting. One thing that A24 does a lot, and they have, is like this inverted landscape shot. You have it in Midsummer, you have it in Hereditary, and you have it here. Like that in itself is disorienting. And then the fog is super disorienting. Like when he is sort of on, I don't know, like this precipice and he sees the giants, but it's almost like they're walking through water because we only see parts of them. It's really cool and very surreal, super dreamlike, and just, I'm like, wait, where are we in the journey? Like physically, emotionally, and that's cool. That's a good thing as a viewer for me to be like, I forget what's happening, and I'm sure he has no fucking idea either.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on the Giants. When it was happening, I was like, what the fuck is going on?
I do
Like,
because I was
there's
at
a
work
couple
and I was like,
moments.
oh, there's boobs. There's giant boobs
Yeah.
on my screen.
there's like a handful of things. Look, the other piece, I finished watching this earlier today. I haven't had a chance to really unpack what the hell I'm supposed to think or feel about the mom and sort of her role throughout.
So
She
according
was
to
the
the article I
fox,
wrote,
think,
according
toward
to
the end.
according to the article I read, she basically, with that spell, summoned the Green Knight as a way
Sure.
of basically challenging her son to like transition into manhood, which I didn't.
Sure.
But listen, I say that
chance.
because like I didn't fully get that until I read the article.
Well, that's set up pretty cleanly because of the way it's intershot, like the editing, it indicates that piece.
Yeah, it was
I
still.
just like at that point, and then where the third act goes, that's where I was kind of like, I mean, like I think I get the third act, but then what's the mom's part? And sorry, Caitlin, go ahead.
Well, no, there's some stuff with the mom. I'm not going to pretend like I understand it 100%, but there's like he thinks about her often, and there's a scene where he wakes up in the castle and like he's dreaming of sort of like her embrace, like a very maternal embrace, and then like we see that green sash that she sort of set as this sort of like, I would love for you to grow, and he's sort of just like, because he is so naive and so reckless and so young and just like not really together, he does keep thinking of these like maternal comforting thoughts of his mom, and then that's kind of like transferred over when he has this sexual encounter. Like it's just, I don't know, there's stuff with the mom that I haven't figured out yet. I'd like to give it another viewing to really wrap my head around it, but there was a note there, a thread there.
So
Well, and go ahead, Casey. Sorry.
I had a question that's a little bit off of that, but Is it ever distinctly mentioned in this movie that the king and queen are King Arthur? And I think at one point we find out the queen's name's maybe Guinevere. They mention or something, right?
I don't know that they use it explicitly. Like I don't remember, but like that's just like from the story. And
But if we think of it in that way, what's based off of the original poem, and these are kind of analogs that they didn't necessarily name, wouldn't that kind of also make the mom the analog of Morgan Le Fay from the originals? It was like King Arthur's sister, right? The evil wizard, sorceress.
oh, I don't know. I don't think the mom is in the poem. I mean, that's like an Eric question because he read one article earlier. But
But I am pretty sure Morgan Le Fay was, because I was
Yeah,
reading
well,
about
The
it.
mom
yeah,
is
yeah.
like an amalgam of a different character from the original, but I have not retained that information.
no,
Unfortunately.
so it could be Casey.
But I mean, it would make sense thinking of it in that way, that she could have been the fox,
Well,
as
and-
well as what we know she did the summoning, and we know that she made the talisman. Ding,
Yeah,
ding, ding.
she's definitely set up as a witchy character, and like she's like part of the court, but then also like a little, not embraced. Like because in the very first sequence where the king is interacting with Gawain, he sort of says to him like, "Hey, where's your mom?" And he's kind of like, "Yeah, she didn't really feel like doing this kind of thing tonight. I don't know." You know what I mean?
She's not into Christmas.
But it's also like he's just like, yeah, all right, makes sense.
I do love that though. I mean, not a great period in history for witchy people, but I do like that there's this sort of old gods and new gods. Like they're celebrating Christmas. He says, the king
Right.
says like to celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. Like he says the words, and then there's like pentagrams everywhere. There's witchcraft that's happening and believed, which historically will take a
Giant tree
darker turn.
people.
Giant tree people. But
Yeah.
I like the not juxtaposition even, but just like the co-occurrence of those two things. It's a cool period, religiously speaking, to have sort of old gods, new gods, and all of them in between.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely.
Can we talk about when he makes it to this kingdom before he gets there? First of all, I was confused because he wakes up and the guy's like, "It's the 26th," and I'm like, "Well, wasn't he supposed to be there by Christmas?" But then it's fine, so I didn't understand
Well,
that.
Christmas, the 25th is,
Oh,
like
is that
not
what it was?
real.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that
Got
was
it.
my assumption. Yeah.
So this interaction between that king and him is actually
Joel Edgerton.
yeah, that's actually the basis of the original story. There's a whole thing where like the king gives him gifts and he's supposed like something whatever. Like that's
They're supposed to trade or supposed to
Right.
exchange like what he finds in the castle with what the lord or whatever finds out in the forest.
right.
But what he finds in the castle is
So
the
oh,
embrace of a woman.
Yeah.
That is
The lady.
the Lord's lady.
And
I
guess
don't
what,
know.
King? You already got that.
this may be an
Yeah.
off-air conversation, but I was so confused by the anatomical aspects of that interaction. Like I don't get what happened. Like I
Yes, you do.
but like
Do you need me to send you some video?
No. it was very confusing for me. Like I understand what happened in the end. I don't understand how we got there.
They give us a pretty clear shot of what happened there at the end.
At the end,
But-
yeah.
The lead up there, I will say, I would listen to Alicia Vikander monologue in that voice for hours.
Yeah.
I did not. I like.
She was rather
I-
hypnotic.
Well, and I thought she was great in this, and I was kind of like, gosh, she kind of looks familiar, but I can't figure out where I've seen her from. She's the robot in Ex Machina.
Yep.
Like
Mm.
that
Yeah,
only
yeah.
occurred to me after. Now she looks a little different. It's a different getup, but
She's also
Yeah.
Lara Croft now.
yeah, in the like most recent one.
Yep.
Yeah, I had no. Part of it was like the viewing experience, which I've already complained about enough, but I did not 100% know what to make of her like reappearance in that Lord's castle. Like, how much of that was just like in his head? How much was
Yeah.
just
Right.
like
Yeah.
maybe he like was thinking about his mom? Like, because it's, I think Caitlin, you sort of mentioned like that is the scene where there's like a dream about the mom, but then it turns into her. It's like.
Yeah, there's some crossing over of like the creature, not even creature comforts, but the emotional relational comforts of home. you know, that he's maybe projecting into this foreign and scary thing that he's trying to do, or it's like a surrealist, dreamy type question mark. Who knows? But he also he ate the mushrooms, which proved to be hallucinogenic, and you know, maybe from there on out, he was having a lot of confusing thoughts, you know, that maybe he was projecting her face onto that lady. And I don't know. It's hard for me to interpret, and I don't know enough about it to speak intelligently, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I need to watch it like 6 more times before I really feel like I get it.
Yeah, to be fair, by the time I got to that point of the movie, I was kind of just slack-jawed and waiting to see where the ride was going anyways.
For sure.
Casey was very thrown by the Giants.
Yes, I was.
Well, that's what I mean by, like, yes, there is a through line of plot, but then also the Giants happen and are not explained, and you're like, okay, cool,
Well,
dude.
but at that point, like, and Eric, you sort of teed this up, right? Like, there's a lot of setup, or there's not even a lot, but there's some setup. You know, you get a sort of slice of life of what's going on in this castle town that he lives in, the sort of main King Arthur town, and then but from there it becomes like a pretty straight, you know, road trip, like journey film, right? Like,
well, it's the hero's journey down to the wire.
Sure, yeah, I mean, and like literally, like it's an actual journey. I love this sequence, and so there's these intertitles, and so like the first one, or one of the first ones, when the journey is starting, is like the journey out, or like going out, or something like that. And I love this moment where it's like the doors to the town open, he goes out, and there's such a clear demarcation between effectively like civilization and then just, you know, the chaos of the outdoors, and it all plays back in reverse, you know, at the end of the film. But yeah, like that, when I say there's like clear plot, it's like, well, we know where he's going, and he goes there, and like a bunch of shit happens in between, and some of that shit doesn't make any sense, or is very dreamlike. But I at least never was concerned that he was not going to get to the Green Chapel or whatever the hell it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's what you expect from an epic poem like this. It's like you have vignettes. Like, this is the part where this happens. This is the part with the giants. This is the part with the headless ghost lady. Like, I like you said, they are framed very explicitly as vignettes because they have title cards.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah. Well,
It's hard to read that handwriting really quickly.
I know. I was like, the what?
But you think about, like, in literature terms, literary terms, in that hero's journey, it's essentially the same thing as like the Odyssey. So when these weird things like giants pop up and whatnot, I just kind of chalked it up to something like that, because it's even coming from a similar era too.
They're tests. They're trials.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
I did want to talk about colors a little bit, because yellow, like that gold cape, was, I mean, the first thing I thought, and I was like, oh, cool, cowardice. Like, he's literally like cloaked in it, and it's velvet. Like, it's very luxurious and like indulgent, and like, I love symbolism that really underscores like a character that's really obvious. Like, I loved that, and I love that the green of the Green Knight is like the unknown, the wilderness, and even the lady at the castle was talking about like red is passion, and I was like, oh, we're going the full stoplight. We've got red, we've got yellow, green.
But that whole analogy though about how I loved it was like basically green is what's left when all the red burns away. That like it doesn't, like at the end of the day after everything, we're just all going to be overtaken by the green, which I really like, because it's like green as life and death.
Yeah,
which is cool. And the way she delivers that whole thing with like the slow zoom is pretty amazing.
It's like what Casey was saying, very captivating.
Yeah. I also wish, after we got introduced to the king and queen, I guess they didn't have fruit in that kingdom. Those two poor people did not look too good.
Not a lot of vitamin
They got
C
the scurvy. Got some rickets going on.
7th century Great Britain would not have been great for Eric. Let's
No. No.
Neither Eric nor myself would make it. I don't think.
I don't know. It's a pretty clean diet, though. If you can get food, it's basically just meat and vegetables and like porridge and shit. I don't know. Like, that's not that bad. That's pretty healthy. That's actually not that far off from my diet, Schnorrs, as long as it's there.
Okay. Hey, I take it back. You would have thrived.
Nothing's processed because it can't be.
That's true.
What do you think? Caitlin, you pick up on the symbolism more than I do. Was there symbolism behind those amazing crowns?
I'm sure there was. I was reading a little bit about the fashion and the costuming because it was so beautiful. And I love the halo crown. I don't know if the halo is supposed to be like representative of the art that was happening at the time, which is like a lot of medieval art has sort of like the Mary figure with that big halo. I don't know if that's just supposed to be sort of a reference to that, an allusion to that. But I couldn't take my eyes off it. I was like, oh, there's going to be like, I don't know, in 2 years, that'll be what Beyonce wears at her next show. They're beautiful. They were just gorgeous. I did also love the sort of brocade on the Queen's like vest or whatever she was wearing. It was just really, really interesting. And they looked sallow and sunken and like zombies almost. The king and queen, like their teeth are kind of black. It's a weird look. And then they've got this like very angelic halo and like regal presence in their adornments, but they look like shit.
Do you think?
And they look worse than everybody else.
The casting is perfect though, like on the King Arthur of like it looks like a dude who used to be really regal and now just looks like like it's the
he's a shell.
It's the version you don't see in like the fairy tale usually, you know what I mean?
So Kate Dickie, I think, is the actress who plays Guinevere. Do you think she just calls her agent and is like, listen, dude,
hey,
can I just have like all my teeth in the next movie? Like, is that so
no,
much?
I just picture people call the agent
Mother-
like, look, we need a real dour British lady for this because she's the same thing
No,
in Game of Thrones too.
Yeah, no, it's
And
not
the
even
witch.
dour. It's like, dude, they're like, they're like on their death's door acting crazy, like just.
She has a rotting clause in her contract where she needs to be decayed.
How do you feel
I love her.
about
So good.
how do you feel about breastfeeding a crow in this movie?
The-
Would you be down for that?
That character, in Game of Thrones.
Oh my god, yeah.
That runs. What's the Eyrie? Is that what it's called?
The
Or she's
Eyrie,
like
yeah, or the Eyrie, yeah. She is oh god, what is her name?
She's
She's
a
Catelyn.
sister.
She's
She's-
Catelyn Stark's sister.
Yeah.
Dude, you're calling me out. I should know this.
Well, Sweet Robin is the son. I always remember Sweet Robin.
Sweet Robin.
John Aaron is the husband. What is her
Lady.
name?
It's Lady Aaron.
Yeah, that's what they refer to her
That's
mostly.
what they call her, I think. Yeah.
But it was cool to have her and Ralph Ineson back. I mean, his voice was perfect for the Green Knight,
Yeah.
and his general physical presence on screen, like that was very well cast.
That was another like talk about horror moment when she reads the note.
Yeah.
Wait, so Kate Dickie is reading the note. It's coming through in the Green Knight's voice.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff's pretty dark. Like,
It's
Well,
so
and
cool.
the lighting and everything.
It was really
too,
well
as-
done.
As we keep talking about, like as her voice started to change and come in that, and the lighting in the room changed, and they started getting that glow coming up behind everybody and whatnot. It was a striking scene.
All right, Caitlin Schnarr says it's okay, so let's get the list out. Let's do
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, is Caitlin's keeping?
Oh,
the
you
list
missed.
now?
I've got it
You
up.
weren't here last week, John. Big
Yeah.
doings.
Oh my God, Eric's list.
I
been
sent her.
rewritten, huh?
I invited her to the document live on air.
Eric can't manage his own documents. Which is what I
I mean, I managed to add her to it. I think that's pretty impressive. I didn't say, "Can you find this?" So
So is that? Are we good? Are we good on?
yeah,
that?
it's
Joel-
good. It's good.
I was very
and
excited
weird.
with Joel Edgerton showing up. I'm just anytime he's in a movie, I'm here for it. So
Yeah, he's real weird in this movie. It's good.
I just
He
that's
is-
the only part. That's the only part of the movie though that lost me as far as everything that was going on. I was still fine with it. It was still entertaining. I thought it fit in well, but I didn't quite understand, like we had talked about, why Alicia Vikander's character was there, and it's different characters. So
Well, that's what I mean. Like,
It-
it's interesting because it's very disorienting as the audience, but it's never explained, so you're just kind of left to be like, okay, like that.
Well, it's got to be intentional in some way, and maybe the disorienting is that, like, yeah, he took those mushrooms, and it's just been kind of surreal and dreamlike ever since,
Yeah.
or he's projecting it because he needs this comfort of home in this really unknown situation that he's probably not capable of handling.
but I also bring that up again because for me at this point, this movie to not sound like we're gushing about it, you got to nitpick it, and that's like the worst I can come up with, really.
It's not.
Because
not-
everything
not-
else I
not
thought was
nitpick.
spot on.
Yeah, I don't even think
will not be.
it's a nitpick. It's just a thing that it was like disorienting in the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm not smart like Caitlin. I can't figure that shit out while it's happening.
Just
Um,
because I wanted to check Barry Keohane. I think Keohane. So he's the scavenger, like that weird kid, killing of a sacred deer. Remember how
Oh.
fucking weird he was in that movie?
That's where I remember him from.
Whew.
Oh, that movie. Whew.
He is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
He's very off-putting in a good way.
Oh.
Like, good job. You did, he understood the
Which
assignment.
guy is this?
He's like the scavenger. He
Oh,
just
The
like
little
the kid.
shithead.
Yeah,
he looks
dude,
like he
I
so he's
love
30
when he.
in real life.
I love when
he's
he
29.
is. I love at the end when he's strolling back through that territory and that he's just like stumbling around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like when he was like, an axe looks good on me, or like whatever he said, like it suits me, and I was like, he's gonna fuck around and like cut somebody. That was a beautiful axe too. I kept looking at it. I was like, and then when
it's a pretty dope axe.
when Godwin lays it on the green chapel and like it, it's a beautiful scene and there's water dripping. I was like, oh no, don't put it there. It's gonna rust.
Dude, I have a
And
question.
then you hear his heartbeat.
I have a
Oh,
question
that's such a
for
cool scene.
history people. There's this really, really cool scene when he's in the like Second Kingdom where Alicia Vikander's character is going to paint him, and there's like a wall, presumably facing the outside, that has these like little cylinders that she removes to let these like strategic beams of sunlight through, and then he looks like a Renaissance painting, and I was like, wait, is that how they did that? Because that's fucking brilliant. I need to know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
Someone tell me.
I honestly don't know.
We'll have to consult Cece. She would know.
Yeah.
All right. The Green Knight. Caitlin, thumbs up or down?
Yeah, thumbs up. Check it out.
Casey,
Both thumbs up.
John,
Yeah. Big thumb. Big
Same.
thumb up.
big thumb. Same. That's weird. It's real good. Make sure you got a lot of time because it's long. Check it out. We'll be back.
Discover the #1 movie everyone is talking about, The Good Son, a frightening portrait of evil. Macaulay Culkin plays the bad seed to perfection.
What makes people evil? I don't believe in evil. You should.
A chilling roller coaster of terror, loaded with tension and suspense, with a heart-pounding edge-of-your-seat climax. A great thriller.
If I let you go, you think you could fly?
The Good Son, rated R, now playing at theaters everywhere.
Hello, I'm Nell Campbell from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back.
Oh, Eric.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that. You
I was supposed to remind you that Alyssa sent you an email about book club.
I literally,
and
dude. I think you just.
Okay.
I think you just mind melded with me because before you even said that, I knew what it was about. Alyssa, we just finished. We Need to Do Something by Matt. Is this the one she sent? Right. It's Wednesday, September.
She sent it last week.
Yeah, this is
and
it.
we
Just
forgot.
read it out loud.
We just finished. We Need to Do. This is a BGH book club, y'all. We finished. We Need to Do Something by Max Booth III, which is one of the weirdest things I've ever read. As I mentioned a while back, September is Hispanic Heritage Month. It's not much, but in honor of that, the patrons chose from a list of Hispanic and Latinx authors. This month's book will be Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which focuses on a young woman investigating her cousin's claims that her husband is trying to kill her. I'm very excited because all the patrons on Slack who have already read it say it is amazing. Have a great week. That is Alyssa, who runs the book club. You can check us out on Goodreads and Reddit also. Reddit, it's our BGH book club, I believe, which is where a lot of that discussion is currently happening. Books. Some people read them. It's cool. I'm into it. John, the BGH agenda. Don't forget the 5K, October 16th.
God, I'm so glad you wrote that date down.
Yeah.
So that you didn't. If you had called on me to
One more time.
come up with it, it would have been bad.
I have it right
would
here in
not
my
have known.
notebook so that I see it every day. And every week now I copy the dates into my new note. This is how I keep track of shit now, John.
Eric
top
is
of the-
training. He's putting in some work right now.
That's right. Doing it. John, patron Halloween Zoom Party 2.0, Saturday, October 27th. I think last year we started at like 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll see. That probably will stay again this year. I've talked to Caitlin, John, and she's prepared to put together a prize package for the trivia winner. Trivia, of course. We can talk off air, John. She needs money. Trivia, of course. Put together by
In so many ways.
put together by Mr. John Shelton. For those who did not attend this event last year, it was incredible trivia. And if you like trivia in general, every week almost it's happening on Slack with our boy Jody is putting trivia on. So lots of horror trivia going on at BGH. But yeah, so all you have to do is be a patron at any level, and about a week out in October, we'll give you the information of how to join. We're gonna do a costume contest. Last year's was a shitload of fun. There was a lot of really cool costumes, and last year especially was like the pandemic Halloween, so it was a really cool event to, I don't know, just blow off some steam, which John definitely did.
I might still be recovering.
Eric, I feel like you have to be the Green Knight now. I know you want to be Schnars with the long hair, but
Do they have that at Spirit Halloween?
I feel like you can. There's got to be a makeup tutorial on YouTube already.
Yeah, you could put
No,
that
I'm
together.
not. I'm not doing makeup. That's a step too far. It took me 10 minutes to put together the Schnars costume out of things I found on Amazon and things I had. So like, that's my threshold for
Big
costume
win.
investment. No, I was gonna do quarantine Schnars. I just need a wig. And like a wig and like a polo shirt, maybe. Lots of polos while you're in quarantine, John.
I mean that's all the time. I wear polos.
I feel like you got a V, but now that you're back in Manhattan, a V-neck. Oh no, crew neck. Crew neck.
It's standard.
I was gonna call you out, although I love a V-neck.
Are
I
V-necks
need to
in? I don't
rebuild
even
the
know.
V-neck.
Inventory?
backlog here. I don't have a ton.
So yeah, that's what's going on at BGH. Info at bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Casey, you made an appearance on a podcast recently. Would you like to tell us about it?
Sure, I showed up with the Dads from the Crypt, talking about season 2 episode from Tales of the Crypt, Cutting Cards with Lance Henriksen and Kevin Tighe. You can find that episode out there now on any of your favorite podcast stuff. That's Dads from the Crypt. You can give them a follow on Instagram too at Dads from the Crypt as well. They are cool dudes. There's some good talk of Lance Henriksen, Vegas, dad tips, all sorts of stuff.
Love it.
They're crushing it.
Caitlin.
Yeah, I've had 2 of the Dads from the Crypt dads on Plug It Up. The episodes haven't been released yet, but Jody joined me alongside Elizabeth for our take on Jugface, which is a really interesting folk horror movie. And then Jason was on and we did Sleepaway Camp. So I'll be getting those out over the next few weeks, and just got to round out and have Mondo on, and we'll have all the dads, our dad ducks in a row. But no, Plug It Up has been really, really fun. Jennifer's Body came out this week, and I'm really, really happy with that one. It's generated some conversation, we'll say. So
I love it. Dude, such a conversation going on around that movie recently.
yeah, it's having a bit of a renaissance, and I'm happy
What
about
an
it,
interesting thing to be this old and see the discourse, the entirety of the life cycle of the discourse on that movie. Like where we've now come all the way around. I've never seen it. I need to. Caitlin, what's my top 10 looking like right now?
Well, you've only got one spot left that's open, FYI.
All right.
Number
Well, that makes
1
this
is
easy.
Promising Young Woman. Number 2 is Candyman. 3, Fear Street. 4, Werewolves Within. 5, Saint Maud. 6, The Stylist. 7 is Blank. 8, Boys from County Hell. 9, Psycho Gorman. And 10, Censor.
This definitely goes above Fear Street.
Okay. Cool.
I love that you still have Psycho Gorman. It's just
It's
hanging.
I'm pretty sure it's staying. No, the thing that's on there right now. What's 9?
No, it's Psycho
9
Gorman and then
Yeah,
Censor.
Psycho Gorman is 9. Yeah.
Censor would be the first thing you bumped, I feel like, on this list. Because I can barely remember it, so that's usually my litmus test.
Video nasties.
Love it. Casey, what do we got doing on Twitter?
All right, we got 2 tweets out there tonight. Our hashtag is AskBGH. Send us a question. We'll make up answers. Both tweets come from the Dads from the Crypt podcast that we just mentioned. First up, Which movie was better at revitalizing the franchise? Candyman 2021 or Halloween 2018?
Oh, dude, Halloween. Are you kidding? Like, Candyman was cool, but like, are they gonna make sequels to it? I mean, I guess maybe they could, but
Yeah, they could.
I mean,
They could. I mean, it'd
Candyman
break
and
my heart to see more of like
they're both
how.
they're both impressive feats. I think Candyman is like the more unlikely of revivals because of like how just kind of perfect and complete that first movie is, whereas Halloween being a slasher is just like kind of tailor made for sequels. But they're both pretty
Yeah, in terms of
impressive.
franchises, I would go Halloween.
They're both pretty impressive for different reasons. I think it had been so long. So many people have tried to do right with Halloween and just totally boned it up, Rob Zombie, that like it's just it's impressive to see someone do it right.
Alrighty, and for their second question, again from Dads from the Crypt podcast, they bust out our own Candyman revival here, you could say, and they ask who would win, an army of Candyman versus an army of Brock Lesnar's?
That's a great question. I think this
Aren't we all the winner or loser in that scenario?
That's a lot of beasts, so there's going to have to be a lot of EpiPens.
That's a lot of man buns now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Army of man
Brock
buns.
Lesnar. I did see some of the content from whatever that return was.
Yeah, he's a weird looking gentleman.
I think Candyman could get him at this point.
Yeah, well that's
Candyman
the thing, John. That's the thing. Brock Lesnar ages, Candyman is eternal, and we're definitely out of Brock Lesnar's like, peak here.
Peak,
so, yeah.
yeah, peak Lesnar is behind us.
Yeah, and he's not as old. He's not as old as Tony Todd anymore. Let's say that.
We should mention you can still get the absolutely amazing Brock Lesnar versus Candyman shirt in our store if you go to TeePublic and search Bloody Good Horror. It's just not called that because every time you call it that, they take it down.
Yeah. You can also find those shirts going to bloodygoodhorror.com and checking up at the top there, the shortcuts. There is a shirts link out there direct to the TeePublic store.
That says shirts, yeah. It's a good one.
And that's it for Twitters.
Word.
Light tweets.
I had to do Question Tuesday twice because I forgot because I didn't know what day it was. So we're going to go all the way back. It's Halloween. Which one of the 5 monster cereals is best? I don't know. I haven't eaten them in 40 years, so I couldn't tell you.
They look really cool. Like the box design is really like vintage retro looking. I haven't tried it yet.
Even when I was a kid, my mom wouldn't have bought that stuff. Like,
I kind of like them all. They all kind of taste the same.
Do they taste different?
But
even?
I enjoy them.
Right? Like, don't they just all taste like sugar?
Pretty much.
Except
I definitely have not had one since I was, teens or below.
But they do have the new Monster Mash cereal where they mix them all together this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you need me to test it, I will. God.
I might look up that Monster Mash.
Here's a good one. What non-horror film are you currently excited for?
Dune.
Dune.
Oh,
Dune.
Great answer.
Very Dune.
solid.
Much Dune. Also, Matrix. This trailer drops tomorrow. I'm pretty pumped.
What's
When is
happening
it
with
coming?
that? I feel like that's happened. That conversation happened, and the train left without me, and I have no idea what's going on.
It's Matrix 4. It's called Matrix Resurrections. It's directed by Lana Wachowski. And yeah, it looks really cool. So they have cooked up some way to bring back Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves. Although interestingly, not Lawrence Fishburne, which I didn't realize until I was reading an article yesterday. But so my guess is, well, whatever. Anything I guess right now is going to sound stupid because it comes out tomorrow and the show comes out Friday. So check it out. If you're listening to this, it's on the internet.
Yeah.
This is it. I think it's going to be because the Matrix got destroyed at the end of the third one. So I think it's going to be that like some percentage of humans decided they wanted to be in the Matrix. So I think there's going to be a big deal made out of like the decision of whether or not you want to live in the real world or live in the Matrix. And my guess is, my guess is that Neo and Trinity are like revived as just like digital things in this like multiverse, because they're both died at the end of the third one.
You should have just had you write this thing, man. Come on.
That's my guess, John.
You got
Let's see if I'm
ideas.
right. I do.
Yeah.
I do. So yeah, That's a good, yeah, Matrix and Dune. That Dune movie looks, I've never seen the original Dune. I have no, I've never read the book. I have zero attachment to it. That Dune movie looks sick.
I didn't realize apparently this Dune movie only covers half of the book.
Yeah,
Because I actually read the book in the last.
they're
like,
working
2 or
on
3
this on a
years.
sequel. On the sequel.
Well,
right now.
I mean, I assume
They're
that's
speculating
not
a
gonna
trilogy
end.
from what I've seen.
I'm telling you, that Oscar
That
Isaac,
tracks.
that Oscar Isaac can do anything, John. It's amazing.
There's like a shitload of those books. I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of Dune.
Yeah.
Here's a great question. What's your current favorite synthwave band or artist not named Hi-Fi? That's HY-FY,
God.
John, in
Yeah,
Spotify.
come on. That's.
What if
a
Hi-Fi
little,
is my
a little on
favorite?
the nose.
Well,
Yeah.
do you have one? As John, I know you don't, John. What about you, Casey?
I do. I definitely do not. So.
I don't keep up with them a lot, but I do return to Perturbator a lot.
Perturbator is very good. Mine would be Power Glove. And I would say they were probably the biggest influence on Hi-Fi, John, for those who are wondering. HY-FY on Spotify. Your current home theater setup. This is easy for me. Laptop and these headphones.
I bought a big ass TV when we moved to New York. That was like the one thing I was like, I'm getting a fucking new TV.
Once you have
We had
kids,
had the same TV
though,
for
like
8
once you have
years.
kids, any audio situation that's not headphones is useless.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a nice big TV, 4K. I have a receiver and surround sound hooked up to it. I haven't used it in forever just because it's kind of a pain in the butt.
And everybody's kind of doing their own thing typically, or like I don't know.
Yeah.
My struggle is like when I want to watch something, like just have something on the TV that is not kids crap, but like my kids are around, but literally everything I watch or want to watch is just not appropriate for kids, like at all. So it's just I was end up watching the Great British Baking Show. Like
I was gonna
on a
say it's
loop.
got to be Bake Off. Yeah, I have
Totally, but
it on. It's like
it doesn't always do it for me, but it's like the only option. Well, like I really want to watch marathons of Bar Rescue when they're on, but you can't do that with a 5 and a 3-year-old.
It's tough with what's his name? Now I'm gonna forget.
John Tapper.
John Tapper running around telling people the bar smells like shit.
Oh, I'm asking the questions, John.
Yeah, you are.
Best NHL team. I don't watch hockey. I had no answer for that.
Come on, no, pass.
Do American
Flyers.
pass.
It's the Philadelphia Flyers. Just
Do American Horror Stories writers only write 3 episodes per season, then make up the rest on set? Question mark.
wow. Well, as a writer on the show, I take offense. Just kidding, Ryan Murphy. I would love to talk though. We're only 3 episodes into the new season, so it's hard to judge yet. But
yeah, but
I'm
can you
digging.
judge based on the previous seasons?
yeah, they're dumb, but I love them. They have too many ideas that they try to cram into things, and they have a lot of characters and plot lines. But I mean, if you watch them 20, 30 times over like I do, they all make sense in the end.
I've only watched 2 seasons of American Horror Story, and both times the experience was the first half of the season. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. Then it gets right smack in the middle, and then it's for the rest of the season. It's like, what the hell just happened?
It goes off the rails usually, but I still love it. Casey, which 2 seasons have you watched?
1984 and Asylum, I believe.
Okay. Those are fun ones.
Let's see. 2 questions left, John. I know you like to be prepared for the end of the show.
Thank you.
Have you ever gone on any cool trips to visit filming locations from your favorite movies?
I mean, I live
No.
in New York, which is one of my
Oh.
favorite locations.
Did
for
you
many
move there
movies,
because
so-
of Chud? Yeah, I take that as a yes.
actually,
I've
yes.
always really, I have not, but I'd always really wanted to visit the camp that they shot the original Friday the 13th at, which I believe is in New Jersey. So it's not out of the question. I could do that.
Not that far away.
You can go to the diner that's in that movie, and they sell like bootleg mugs with the Friday the 13th font on them. That seemed pretty cool. That I kind of want one.
unlicensed.
Yeah, 100%.
I have not visited any of those sites, but my middle school gym was almost the gym in Hoosiers, like
Was
in
it-
the Final
wait,
Five.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did you just say almost?
Almost.
It was almost. My middle school gym was the third best gym in
It
Indiana.
was.
We were so
No,
close.
in this terms, this was the '80s, and the Hoosiers took place somewhere in the '50s, so it was like the third oldest in Indiana.
I really like picturing that there's a sign in your town that says like we were almost the gym in Hoosiers. Amazing. All right, John, last question.
All
After
right.
this, John, the show ends.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting my energy level back up. Go.
Best standalone slasher. It's a good one.
Oh,
I have an answer.
Just Before Dawn.
Great,
Nice.
great suggestion.
I want to say you're next, but that's, I guess, more home invasion. Some slashing happens.
I would allow it. I would allow that.
Uh,
I would
throw
also have
out-
accepted Terror Train. I don't think there's a sequel.
I
on
just
that.
Yeah.
watched Terror Train. It was on Shutter TV. That movie is fun.
Yeah,
It's
it
a good
is.
time.
Fun
Yeah.
as hell. Yeah.
I'll throw out Behind the Mask, Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Interesting. I don't really like the word best, John, because it's so subjective, but I would say my favorite
You love them
standalone
all. They're all your special
my
children, I know.
favorite standalone slasher is The Burning.
Oh, yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, all right.
nice.
Can't
probably-
can't beat that shit.
Nicely done. Young Jason Alexander. Yeah.
If anyone wants to buy me an original vinyl of that soundtrack, I'll be your friend forever. That's all it takes.
That's all.
So cheap. You're so cheap.
That's it.
Cheap friend.
All right. Bloody Good Horror, John. Another episode in the books. The Green Knight. Next week, Malignant.
Malignant.
Yeah, you got it.
James Wan. Good news, John. James Wan tweeted that this one's for the hardcore horror fans. So get excited.
Ooh.
I've seen nothing. Like no trailers.
I
I
mean-
saw there was like an ad on IMDb for
It's
it.
a James Wan
That's
movie.
the only thing.
Someone gets
yeah.
possessed. Someone gets WWE thrown against a wall, like by a spirit.
Yeah.
Say what you want about James Wan. Motherfucker knows how to
Oh.
make a scary movie.
I'm
Like,
not
I don't.
disparaging him. I'm just saying I know what this movie is going to be. That's what I'm
I
saying.
hope that this
I-
actually is a secret Fast Furious
Tie-in.
That's my hope.
I just want to reiterate Chase's hilarious tweet that was like, James Wan is just working through the thesaurus with Insidious and Malignant
Right.
and Sinister.
Was he involved in Citizen?
No.
Is that? I
So
might be
someone
missing-
pointed out, I was like, dude, that's the most amazing tweet. And then somebody's like, he didn't make Sinister. I was like, oh, damn
Oh,
it.
well, I didn't know. Maybe he
Such a
produced
good
it.
tweet.
Never know.
I caught the trailer for *Malignant* before *Candyman*, and
No, it looks
was
good.
enough for me. It was enough for me to say, "Hey, this actually looks interesting
It
for
looks-
a one horror movie."
It looks good. And like up until this point in the year, we haven't gotten a lot of just straight up horror movies. That's what I was saying when we did Werewolves Within. Like,
Yeah.
as a horror comedy, that was kind of the horror-iest thing we've done all year. So, like, traditional. So, between
Yeah, especially
that
with a 2021 release.
and Halloween Kills, getting pretty excited.
Candyman.
Candyman. Schnars, you got to see it. Report back.
I can't wait. No, I know. Well,
It's-
it's got to be streaming soon, right? Like they're not gonna fuck around in the theater
I don't
forever
know.
on this.
I don't know.
I'll hold my breath, I guess.
I did not have to walk all the way around the haunted parking lot of my theater to get to my car this time. So that was cool.
You did skedaddle though. You were ready to go.
Oh, no, I got freaked out and ran, I ran out of the theater. All right, everyone. Don't forget, you can get a streaming video version of this show, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, live when we record it. You can hear the pre-show, always exciting stuff. You can also get back episodes of the show and access to our Slack at patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. And if you are a patron at the Candyman, I think it is level, John, you should check your inbox if you haven't. We sent out a message a couple weeks ago looking for some information. I'll probably send out a follow-up before I start getting on that. So, all right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.